Well, hello everyone. How you doing there? Yeah, we got October the. I keep doing that. I can't train myself to say November. Here we got November the 4th, 2025. All day long I couldn't say November. I kept saying October. But hey, we'll head up Michigan Avenue. We got about 60 degrees even when it's getting dark here at 5 o'clock. We got 5:05 in the PM here. I'm sleepwalking already. I'm out of work. My brain feels like a sponge. I squeezed everything out of it, and now we gotta head home here. So here's the Carbon building here. There's this nice view to Wrigley. It's pretty. There's some wind tonight, so we'll see how it is crossing the river there. Krista, how you doing there? Sabrina, Suburban Garden there. Yeah, Sabrina, Suburban Garden. Thanks for tuning in to the big bad city here on Michigan Avenue. We'll head across Water Street there. Gee, how you doing there? Good evening. Yeah, Kat Bravo, how you doing there? Wayne Thornton, yeah, good evening. Jessica Ward, thanks everybody. How you doing? So, hey, let's head up Michigan Avenue. I'll just take the easy walk home today. I'm heading home from work here on a Tuesday, big election night for New York City. People are screaming, they're just running around there. Look at that beautiful grading of the sky. We've had beautiful clear skies at lunchtime. We were checking out the fall colors there in Millennium Park. I posted rerun yesterday and today of the beautiful trees, the autumn changing of the leaves there. It was a pretty nice weather day. Hopefully we'll get a carbon copy tomorrow for the bridge lift, but we'll see. But here, there's that Charlie Brown building. We'll head towards the Wrigley building and we'll see what's shaking here. Reaper, how you doing? Thanks for tuning in there. Appreciate it. Thanks for coming back here. And Jessica, yeah, thanks everybody. Good evening there. So hey, we'll head up. There's the, you can look down at the Beaubien Court there. Beaubien Court. There's the Pace Bus. Oh man, that car is trying to get around that Pace Bus and it's really hard. They made it. Good. So here we'll head past the Blackhawk store and the Fannie Mae.
That's exactly what we're
There we go. D-Lime Tea Time, how you doing there? Yeah, lunch bunch in the evening here. It's good. Wes, howdy. Winter. Man, Rod Stroop. What about him? You got something else to say? Yeah, I support First Amendment free speech rights. It's horrible what happened to Charlie Kirk there, and nobody should be ended that way for their First Amendment free speech rights. I agree. Our hearts go out to his family and everybody else there. Thanks for tuning in there. And again, our condolences go to Dick Cheney. Dick Cheney's family passed away. Liz Cheney, his father. Here, we'll get across. Wow, look at that. I heard those sirens coming there. That's a fire marshal streaming through Wacker Drive. This is Wacker Drive in Michigan. That's the real Chicago fire. And here we'll head up Michigan Avenue. We'll show the Wrigley building. We'll show the Tribune Towers in blue. There's the Trump Tower. There's the R.R. Donnelly and the Leo Burnett building. There's the London House. And here we'll head across the DuSable Michigan Avenue Bridge. And there's a large barge there. That's probably the same one we saw on the South Branch at lunch today. The architectural tour boats were doing a pretty robust business today because it was a beautiful sunny day beginning of November. There's the Apple store. But hey, look at the Tribune. Intercontinental Hotel's looking nice, and there's the Wrigley building all lit up there. So isn't it nice now we get out of work and it's already dark? So all summer long people are like, why don't you walk at night? Why don't you walk in the dark? Well, we'll be walking in the dark both morning and night for the next 6 months. And it's still light in the morning because I don't get up that early, but I do get up pretty early. We catch some sunrises. We'll catch some sunrises later this month. Grim Evil, how you doing there? Yeah. Alvin, how you doing there? Yeah, that was a tough loss there for the Toronto Blue Jays there. What a good World Series there, but yeah, it could have went either way. And there's the Tribune there. There's the Jean-Baptiste Pointe-aux-Trembles statue. We'll just head up Michigan Avenue. Look at the Genie Gang there, the St. Regis. Hey, look in the Apple store there. We went by the other Apple store this morning. This morning, we went by the one in Lincoln Park there. There's the Aeon 3334 Michigan. Look at that beautiful view there. We'll get back. We'll get it to you there so I don't walk backwards into somebody. So, hey. Yeah, we'll see what happens in that election tonight in New York City there. Mamdani against Cuomo against Silwa. There's the three mayoral candidates there. Cuomo's running as the independent because he lost the Democratic primary to a Democratic socialist. Isn't that amazing? And there's also governor's elections happening for Virginia and New Jersey. For California, there's a measure on the ballot. You know how California always votes on these propositions. It's to gerrymander and redistrict the congressional districts and the voting districts in retaliation to Texas, what Texas did. Isn't that amazing? And California can counterbalance that.
I'm encouraging you to read. Hey, brother, how you doing?
How you doing? Thanks for saying hello. Right, so you doing First Amendment free speech there, Streetwise. That's good. That's good. That's good. Thank you. That's good. Yeah, reading the paper there. He's selling Streetwise there. Ever remember Streetwise there? I didn't know they were still doing Streetwise. That's good. So hey, that's yeah. If anybody spent a long time, and you know, I've been living in this city for over 26 years. I know some people have lived here their entire life. You remember Streetwise? It was a newspaper, and there was a program for the unhoused, the homeless people that they could sell the newspaper. You give them $2, $1 goes to the person selling it, and I bought them in the past, but I didn't realize I wasn't prepared there. I didn't realize that's what it was. He was doing the Streetwise, so that's good that they still got that going there. So we'll probably cross the street here so I can show you the beautiful facades of these buildings lit up at night here. At least we'll try to get the dome here. So hey, look at this nice view. You get to the vintage skyscrapers there. Michigan Avenue, the top of the Prudential building's nice. Here's North Michigan Avenue. We'll head up this way. Cars are making the left turns here, so we'll cross. And then once we get safely on the sidewalk here, we'll spin around. Let me make sure I'm not getting a glare here on my lens here. Sometimes we can clear it off there. But hey, look at the the Tribunes in blue there. I guess, I don't know, is that still for breast cancer awareness or is that for something else? And then see the top of the Realtor building. And here's the Intercontinental Hotel. It used to be Medina Athletic Association there, similar to the Medina Temple Auditorium where the casino is. Both of these were built, or had something to do with the Shriners. The Shriners, a subset of the Masons there back in the 1920s. And so here we'll head up Michigan Avenue. Yeah, Taco Jalapeno Salsa, how you doing? Thanks for tuning in, appreciate it. Hope you're doing well. And let's see who else here. Pete's tuning in there. Dolores, Grandma's Corner, how you doing there? Call me Fat Jesus. Yeah, it could be prostate or whatever as well. It's men have prostate, women have breast cancer. Yeah, I know. It's a lot of people are affected by these things, and we all need to get checked. Yeah, Pete, how you doing there? Yeah, Taco, thanks. I really appreciate you tuning in there. And let's see who else, man. Vietnam, you're tuning in from Vietnam there, Rod Stroop. Wow, that's great. You're all over the place there, but hey. Violet is for diabetes. Okay, good. So hey, Chris Presents. How you doing? Yeah, please check out Chris Presents. He's huge on YouTube. He's been doing this a lot longer than I have. He's got thousands of videos, hundreds of thousands of followers on YouTube. He covers Chicago. Chris Presents. Thanks for tuning in here. Yeah, we're walking up Michigan Avenue. Yeah, you covered this area around here as well. And we're right where we're at here, the Pop Mart. We got the fall displays here. We spent the whole October looking for Halloween decorations. Now we're already on to Christmas, even though it's only November 4th. We filmed the window displays at Macy's. They're set up. Ernesto Chicago Nuggies got them too. And we've been filming the fall colors there in Millennium Park. The trees are just beautiful now. They're starting to peak there, the maples and stuff. Scott James, yeah. Margie R. Yeah. Reaper Mike. EC. So, EC, let's dwell on this for a while, since you're so concerned about our well-being here in Chicago. I appreciate that. I've been walking in Chicago for 26 years. I know I walk on the wimpy north side, the touristy areas, but we have 300 videos of the west and south side. What are you so afraid of? Anything that can happen to you here in Chicago can happen to you where you're at right now. You can get robbed on the internet. When have Americans become, I don't even know if you're an American, you might not be an American, but usually if someone makes a comment like that, they're an American. And why are so many Americans afraid? Even in the age of Trump, I had somebody at lunchtime, you can watch the comment there, it's recorded on the fall colors there. Here's what the person said. They said, "Thank you, President Trump, for making it safe for Chicagoans to feel safe to walk around in Chicago." I've been walking all during Biden. We've been live streaming. I walked all during Biden. I didn't hear that person make that comment there. That was a disingenuous gaslighting comment, which we're used to. And that's what you're doing too. We're just walking up Michigan Avenue. Somebody brought up RBG Duck. That happened 5 years ago. That's old news. People will bring up O Block. That happened 15 years ago. You're bringing up crime from 15 years ago and acting like it affects people today. Chicago's always been a violent city, back to Al Capone, Prohibition. It was a violent city before that, in the age of the railroad days and fighting Indians and cowboys. America was founded on violence. The Revolutionary War, the Civil War, most of the rights that we hold dear, the labor rights movement, was a violent struggle. People lost their lives so you could have an 8-hour workday and have overtime. I just hear a bunch of people being scared talking about crime. Face your fears. Go out there and face the peril. Don't make a stupid comment and expect like it's going to change anything. It's not. Just like me talking, it's not going to change anything. Anything I say is not going to change anything. But I still talk because we're connecting, we're trading information, we're learning from each other. And just by me simply being here every day, walking to work, proves you wrong. And I know someone's going to ambush me to prove you right. And that's why people keep bringing up Charlie Kirk is like a threat. And here's Michigan Avenue. Here's the Allerton Tip Top Tap. Thanks for tuning in here. We're going to have a good time just walking home from work here. Something I do every day. Been doing every day for 26 years. Sometimes we ride a bike. Sometimes we take the train. If it rains, we take the bus. Get over it. Here's the Starbucks Reserve here. Hey, it's 60 degrees. It's 60 degrees. Look at this. It feels pretty nice. I'm overdressed. I knew I shouldn't have wore my heavy coat, because we're in this period where sometimes you need a jacket depending on this time of the year. Usually in the springtime, it's usually more, you get that cold wind off the lake in the spring and the wind can change. But usually this time of the year, the lake's your friend. It keeps the temperature warm near the lake, warmer than the suburbs. And that's why we haven't had a hard freeze yet. There's still tropical plants that they haven't brought in yet. November the 4th. Here, we'll head by the Harry Potter store. How you doing here? Welcome to Chicago. I'm walking up Michigan Avenue here on a Tuesday night. There's your Harry Potter. So I bet they're doing the new displays. They're going to do some Christmas displays, so that's why they got the curtains drawn. There's the Patronus stag there, the spirit animal of Harry Potter. Hey, there's my spirit animal, that nice dog there. How you doing there?
Oh, great.
Yeah. So here we'll head straight through. We're crossing Huron. Here's Allerton Tip Top Tap. We'll get a nice view of it once we walk by the water tower here. But hey, thanks for tuning in. Welcome to Chicago. Welcome to Michigan Avenue here. We'll head up. See, thanks, Margie. Thanks for the good anecdote there. Naya Papaya, how you doing there? Sunny kid. Yeah, Chicago misses you, Mr. Smith Sports Highlight there. Yeah, this is Chicago. Michigan Avenue, We'll show you the John Hancock. There's the traffic on Michigan Avenue here. We know we got the election in New York City. I'm going to watch the returns come in. I guess the polls close at 9 p.m. Eastern time. They say it's record turnout. They said it's a record turnout for a mayor election, especially in an off-year election. And a lot of young people voted, which is hard to do too. A lot of old people voted too, you know. And I'm an old person, so I can say that. There's the one Chicago Tower. But young is a state of mind. We're young at heart here, all of us. Hey, we got a nice saxophone. Very nice. Yeah, saxophone. Very nice. I would linger, but I want to get home. We filmed the jazz trio there on Halstead after the Halloween parade. I might. Well, I cut that out on YouTube. I need to transfer that over to TikTok, which will work on that. That can be transferred anytime because it's timeless. Yeah, we're seasoned. Yeah, that's it. That's Scott. That's it. We're well seasoned. Yeah, we got experience. My well seasoned friends here. Wayne, hey, you feel like you're getting to know Chicago. See, thanks for watching the live streams here. You know, isn't that amazing? The augmented reality, you can feel like you get a sense of feel for the place, you know. We got so many great Chicago live streamers besides me, Steve Lyon, Jennifer You Should Eat, City Walking Girl, Jay City Walking Girl. We got Ernesto Chicago Nuggies. We got Nick Koiken, Overtime Seb. We got Nia. We got other people that are major content creators like Keys Impact. We got Malik the firefighter and 77 Flavors of Chicago. They do history of Chicago, amazing stuff. Chris Presents was just tuning in, major Chicago live streamer on YouTube. This Gemini, we saw this Gemini, Ernie and I, we see him all over the city, the same events that we film. He's there, he's on YouTube. He films in 4K, watches reruns of the Halloween parade, much better coverage than I had. And I'm glad he did. And he went up to Wrigleyville afterwards and filmed the people in the Halloween costumes on Clark Street in Wrigleyville. We went over there, but we went too early, and I rushed home after the parade to watch the end of that Game 6 of the World Series. And there's the Allerton Tip Top Tap. There's the Allerton Tip Top Tap, the hotel there. It's a historic hotel on Michigan Avenue. And here's the Water Tower Chicago. Look how you can see the top of the John Hancock, which is 1,100 feet tall. And this is the Water Tower Chicago. Survived the Great Chicago Fire of 1871. It was built in 1869. It looks like a castle. And the reason it has that big tower, there's a standpipe that originally water 2 miles out from the lake gravity and pressure, the water would push the water through that pipe and drive it up through water pressure, and they could filter the water. It was an early water filtration system. And what an elegant way to put it inside this tower. And it used to be in the middle of the street. The street was Pine Street. They widened and moved Michigan Avenue to the side, which changed it here. So here it's going to be really windy. I bet you there's good waves on the lake tonight, but I don't want to deal with the wind, so we'll just head up Rush Street. I know I walk up Rush Street all the time, but it's my fastest, easiest way to get up to where I live in Lincoln Park here. So we'll cross. This is Pearson in Michigan here. Chicago, Illinois. How you doing there? Grim Evil, yeah. Sunny Kid, huge tower. Yeah, the water tower is always cool at night there. Look, we're going to get to see it at holiday time. Look, they're working on, well, they're painting something in there. Look, they're painting something. This used to be the Ghirardelli. And I wonder can I take a sneak peek in here? I feel like a voyeur here. Yeah, they're working on something here. So they're working on some construction here. 4 leaves. So look, they're painting. Does that look like is that dates? Is that a date tree, or that looks like a pomegranate or a date tree or something? Maybe they're going to put a restaurant in here. So hopefully maybe something might be going in here. There looks like they're working on something. I guess I'll talk to Hubert, or there's other people that know more about the business happenings on Michigan Avenue. Maybe there's something in the comments here. Let's see. Laurie's Steakhouse. Yeah, Laurie's Steakhouse closed. Where Laurie's Steakhouse was, there's a magic themed restaurant opening. They're currently setting it up, and I'll keep you posted when that opens. Where the Rock Bottom Brewery used to be there on State and Grand, they're supposed to put a video game Formula One bar where you could drink and play virtual reality racing games. And I don't know if that's open yet or not. We'll keep you posted here. But slowly but surely, some of these vacant storefronts are starting to fill in, but there's still a lot of vacant storefronts. And so we'll head up Rush Street. Looks like there's a food truck up there. You just joined Rush and Pearson here, Chicago, Illinois. We got 60 degrees here at 5:26 in the PM, and we're gonna head up Rush Street from Pearson. We got November the 4th, and here's the beautiful Quigley Center, the seminary. Look at that round window there. And hey, Bentley Gold Coast, you need some eye candy here. Maserati. Hey, get your convertible there. Sometimes on weekends you'll see these cars parked out here. People will be taking them for test drives. Hey, they got a boom there. I guess they're working on the look at the 900 North Michigan building lit up in purple. Look at the Quigley Center here, Rush Street. It's nice at night. There, Lamborghini Gold Coast. You buy this Lamborghini, they'll give you a free watch. Look at this cobalt blue Lamborghini here. Fine Italian design work here. Look at that. Very sexy car. Joe Perillo Lamborghini Gold Coast here. They got Rolls Royce. They got Bentleys. They got Bugattis. They got it all. They got everything. They got an elevator that lifts the car up to the upper levels. Hey, look at 900 North Michigan. Hey, Rush Street, Chicago, Illinois, 60 degrees, 527. What else you need to know? November the 4th. Yeah, Shea Paul. We're north of Shea Paul. It's on Rush Street. You're right. You're correct. There is a where for the Blues Brothers, where the outside, at least where the Bluesmobile parked outside the Shea Paul there. That used to be a McCormick residence, a private residence. It's there at Rush and Erie. Rush and Erie. The restaurant was a Hollywood set where the inside, just like with Ferris Bueller's Day Off when he went to the fancy restaurant, they used a building in the Gold Coast, but the inside was a Hollywood set. So, but the one in the Blues Brothers, I think Pee Wee Herman's the waiter, right? Or Paul Rubens. Paul Rubens made some cameos that people wouldn't, before he was famous as Pee Wee Herman. He was in a Cheech and Chong movie, the second or third Cheech and Chong movie. He played he played a hotel clerk. I'm not ashamed to know that. And he was also in the Blues Brothers as a waiter, because he was in LA. He was known as a comic long before he made it big, when he developed the Pee Wee Herman character. Yeah, peace, Elisa. How you doing there? Lampy Tea, Naya Papaya. Yeah, we have Taco Jalapeno Salsa tuning in. This is great. Hopefully, I want to make everybody feel welcome here. Here's the Wabash in Delaware. We got the Tesla store over there. We'll head up Rush Street here. Yeah, who wants something orange there? I'm not wearing makeup. This ain't makeup. Here's yeah, look at that. We'll get a nice view to when we cross Delaware here. We'll get a really nice view to the John Hancock here. We'll see if the light changes here. So there's the top of the 900 North Michigan. There, look at that wonderful view you get to the top of the John Hancock 875 North Michigan here. Rush Street in Delaware, Chicago, Illinois. It's a balmy night. There's the Cybertruck parked in front of the Tesla. We'll get back on the sidewalk here. So here we'll head up Rush Street. Hey, let's check out the window displays on Rush Street. It looks like Dior has a nice one, and maybe later this week or this whole season we'll go up Oak Street and we'll check out the window displays for the high-end fashionista shops there. But here, this is Aritzia. They've had this for a while, the cats. And orange trucks, yeah, like they're easy to see on the road, I guess. It's the same reason they use orange barrels or the orange caution stuff, caution tape, orange vests for construction workers. Here's, yeah, we'll head across Walton Street, Walton and Rush. Let's check out the Dior window displays here. Wow. So there's Lululemon. It used to be Gino's Pizzeria. Hey, look, you see that face in there? I see a face in the lights there. And this is the Dior window display on Walton Street. There's the Bloomingdale's Mall, 900 North Michigan. Look at the beautiful lights here. Dior. And our friend Nia, the live streamer, remember when we met her earlier in the year? We saw her in the Riverwalk, and she had her dog with her in a little dog carrying case, and her dog's named Dior. So hey, you got to see Nia's dog, which was so cute there. And here we're at Dior here on Rush Street. Here's Versace. Here's your Versace fashions here. You can look like the clone there. Hey, that's some nice Versace silver pumps there. Look at that purse. My sister was explaining to me, my sister, you know, they went to buy some high-end purse, and there's a whole way to present it. They present the purse to you, and her husband, my brother-in-law, was just amazed. There was this whole ceremony, like you were birthing a child or something when you get your purse, you know. There's, it's that important. Oliver Peoples, yeah, get some glasses here. So here, Mont Blanc, Madewell, Glossier, of course, Lululemon. We're heading up Rush Street. I'm promoting all these luxury brands I can't afford or own any of this anyway. I take pictures of stuff and live vicariously through others. So here we're just doing window shopping here. This is Hermes. Hermes always has really nice window displays here. And then here we'll go by Prada, what the devil wear here. The devil wears Prada. Sometimes we see the security guards there. Let's wave hello to him. Let's say hello to Omar if he still works there. I don't know. Here's look, Prada chocolate shoes. They got chocolate shoes at Prada. Hey, I like that. I like that leopard print shoe. Look at that. So you can get your leopard print shoe here at Prada. Prada chocolate. I like that. You don't have to shine that shoe, but you don't want to get it wet. Is that suede? You get your suede shoes here at Prada with the fur. Leopard print. Look at that coat. I'm sure it's fake fur here, but here's your Prada window displays here. This is Rush and Oak Street here, Hermes. There's Cartier. And we'll head up Rush Street and we'll see what's shaking up here. Hugo's Frog Bar. How you doing? And the Gibson Steakhouse here. They got the window displays here at Prada. Hey, get your surf hike. What is this place? V-U-O-R-E. Vuori. Here's Arcteryx. Got nice skiing gear there. Just in time for winter. Shinola, Detroit here. Get your watch. Alice and Olivia. So there's Hugo's Frog Bar. This is Rush Street, Chicago, Illinois. We got 5:34 in the PM, 60 degrees. Hey, you go to the Tavern on Rush. It used to be across the street. Now it's here. Hugo's Frog Bar. Gibson Steakhouse. That's where Frank Sinatra used to hang out. And Tavern on Rush here. They got the heat lamps. I can feel the heat from the heat lamps. Feels nice.
I did, yeah. So,
yeah, Lisa, Margie. You guys still talking about the color of the trucks? It's not real chocolate. No, it's fake chocolate. Everything's fake. I'm fake. You're fake. We're all fake. There, the Bellevue. So Mariana Park, they took down all the outdoor seating. They still got outdoor seating here. They got heat lamps, but no one's sitting outside, even though they got heat lamps. And as long as they got space inside, I guess they'll use this later. Here, let's see if here comes a motorcycle here. So let's watch this motorcycle come through here. How you doing? Bellevue Valley Parking. How you doing? There, this is the On Cloud here. This is Federer's brand store for tennis shoes. They got the above is the Carmine's restaurant, but I still have not seen it open yet. There's the Urban Outfitters. There's the Dublin's Bar and Grill. A lot of people mention that. Maple Street, Maple and Ash. We'll go by Lou Malnati's. But hey, here's this bank building finally going in the corner here. The Wintrust is about ready here. Yeah, there's a lot of wealthy people live in this area. That's why they call it the Gold Coast of Chicago. Of course, there's the Gold Coast of Australia. There's the Gold Coast of Africa. There's many Gold Coasts, but this is the Gold Coast of Chicago. See right there, Wintrust Gold Coast. Right there. Here, this is Cedar Street. There's a T-Mobile away. They got the luggage. Here, Lou Malnati's. You get your Chicago-style pizza. This is a chain. They got them all over here. Lou Malnati's dad, his name was Rudy Minotti. He used to work for Uno's and Due's. And there was another woman that they developed a recipe, gave it to his son, Lou Malnati. So I consider in the whole pantheon of Chicago-style pizza, and I'm not an expert. I'm not a native Chicagoan. I defer to native Chicagoans that know this much better than I do usually. But Uno's and Due's was the first. It was a guy from Texas. He wanted to open a Mexican restaurant, but Chicagoans didn't eat Mexican food in the 50s, 40s, and 50s after World War II. At least, you know, people working in the stockyards. And so he developed the Chicago-style pizza, which was a meaty meatloaf version of the pizza, the big, thick pan there. It took off. People said, hey, we get a big meal here. This is great. And Uno's and Due's. And then eventually they did open a Mexican restaurant around the corner called Su Casa. But then, like I said, Rudy Minotti's dad worked for Lou Minotti's dad, Rudy Minotti, worked for the Texas guy that did Uno's and Due's, and there was a woman that worked with him as well. And I apologize, I should know her name. I need to commit it to memory because it's important. And so I think Uno's and Due's is the first, then Lou Malnati's. Gino's East was just Gino's, and there was a Gino's where we just passed the Lululemon. I ate there. It was still open in the 1990s and early 2000s. It closed after 2000, and that's why Gino's East is on Superior Street in Streeterville. That was the Gino's expanded to Gino's East. That was the East Gino's, and then it became Gino's East. There was Gino's all throughout the city, but a lot of them closed down. I think there's only 2 left. And that's where you can write on the walls. That's what they're known for. And there's also, you know, Giordano's, Pequod's. There's many other variations. I'm going to leave a bunch out because we're just talking about the tourist pizza. What people mostly get when they visit Chicago, they eat the tourist Giordano's style, which is a chain there. There's many other mom and pop, real, more Italian, authentic Chicago-style pizzas that aren't like, you know, you can go to the Chicago Pizza and Oven Grinder there on Clark Street. Pequod's has the caramelized crust. It's a variation of it. Not everybody likes the caramelized crust. But hey, here we'll head across here. We got Andrew Rabori's Art Moderne buildings up here. We already went down Rush Street, so let's zig and zag. We'll show these Art Moderne glass block buildings that were built in the 1930s. This was built in 1936. Not much in the world was being built in 1936, but Andrew Rabori was a Chicago architect. He went all the way back to the late 1800s. He would originally do neoclassical, like Renaissance revival styles. Then he got into Art Deco, and then late into his career, he was at the forefront of Art Moderne. And the problem was there wasn't any money to build these buildings, even though they were really popular. It's such a shame that more buildings were not built in this style because after World War II was over, people had already moved on to the international modernist style, Mies van der Rohe and Le Corbusier and the Philip Johnson and Frank Lloyd Wright didn't do Art Moderne, so it kind of, there's only a few Art Moderne buildings, especially residential buildings like that. There's another one right up here, and it's also Andrew Robori glass block, and that was the original glass block, structural glass. That was new at that time, as a new material in architecture. Yeah, I'm gonna loot your mind. Sounds like somebody looted your mind and you're making dumb statements there. Yeah, I'm being robbed. I'm walking down Chicago. I'm being robbed. People are heckling me in the comments. Oh, this is great. Yeah, this is what life's all about. Let's dumb everything down to your level there. We'll sing the Sweating Bullets song by Megadeth. Hello, me. It's me again. I'll be like Dave Mustaine. I'll force you to read Dave Mustaine's autobiography. You know, they kicked him out of Metallica for good reason. Here's where's our friend? Where's? Oh my God! So hey, welcome to Chicago. Let's head up State Street. We'll zig and zag. I'll probably head up to Schiller, and then maybe we'll cut over. Maybe we'll go by the Playboy Mansion. There, you can heckle me for showing you the Playboy Mansion, the original one before they moved it to Beverly Hills. The Rat Pack used to hang out here. We'll go by the Pump Room. It used to be, now it's called the Ambassador Room. It used to be called the Pump Room. They had booth number 1. It was like when Frank Sinatra came, he always got booth number 1. Or Jonathan Rickles, or Don Rickles, Jonathan Winters, if they would come to the old big name people you would see on the roasts and stuff. I'm sure Sammy Davis Jr. was here too. Here's even Dean Martin. Here's Goethe and State here. So here, we'll head through here. I'm just streaming here on YouTube. Good. So here's the Ambassador Room. It used to be called the Pump Room. Yeah, you got the brakes are squeaking there. We go by this famous beauty salon here. Oh, you saw Megadeth in concert, or that's what you're talking about, Kira. There, yeah. May, how you doing there? Yeah, Grim Evil. See, we all know each other here. Grandma's Corner, how you doing there? Playboy, yeah. See, Grandma's Corner. You know a lot about Chicago. Thanks for your help about your memories about Cabrini Green and the Chicago Riverwalk area there. And here, yeah, we're in the Gold Coast. We're on State Street. This used to be, see, Marianne Strokirk. They got this beauty salon here. There's some people still in there, and then that's the Pump Room, which is now called the Ambassador Room. They got this luxury co-ops, these luxury apartments and condos and mansions up here on State Street. The Webster House is up this way. Yeah, there's this other Andrew Robori Art Moderne. Let's look at that glass block here. Let's focus on this as we go by here. So let's film it from across the street. Usually I film it from that side. And apparently Bertrand Goldberg somehow renovated it. The Carl Street Studios guy, he was part of it too. Maybe the interiors there. And here's the original Playboy Mansion. It's hard to, well, let's get a little closer to it here. So here, if you just joined, we're in Chicago. We just crossed Bank Street, Banks and State Street. What a appropriately named area here for Gold Coast. And this across the street, this whole thing, this plus that, this courtyard, it wraps around. This entire estate, several lots wide, was the original Playboy Mansion. It wasn't always the Playboy Mansion. Hugh Hefner bought this in 1959 after he, started publishing the Playboy magazine, and it took off, and he made enough money to buy this mansion. And there was a pool in the basement with a fire pole and a trap door. All kinds of weird, amazing things I'm sure happened in this building. And he eventually sold it, or he eventually moved to in the 1970s, he moved to Beverly Hills and bought the more famous Beverly Hills Playboy Mansion with the grotto. And but his publishing empire was still here, headquartered in Chicago. The top of the originally Palm Olive became known as the Playboy Building. Famously said Playboy at the top. That's where the light beacons at the top, the Lindbergh light next to the John Hancocks on that building. And eventually his daughter ran his publishing empire, and they briefly had Walton Street was named Hugh Hefner Way, but it's no longer named that. It lost its honorary designation. I don't know why. And because the original Playboy Club was there at the corner of Michigan and Walton, and it was torn down to build One Magnificent Mile, which is a office skyscraper there with housing, I think. But here we're on State Street, Gold Coast, Chicago. I'll show you the Webster House. Looks like they still have some Halloween decorations up here. Yeah, they had some really great Halloween decorations at the north end of the street. And so, yeah, maybe we'll cross here and then we'll cross again. Here we're at Schiller and State Street, Gold Coast, Chicago. I'm just heading home from work. I know I always walk through this area. This area doesn't represent the whole city of Chicago. I'm well aware of that. I'm very fortunate that I get to walk through here and check out these beautiful mansions. It's free to walk down the street. I've been walking through here for years. So much so the maintenance people and the doormen recognize me, and the people that live here, they think they're like, here's that weirdo walking down there. We see him every day walking through here. Yeah, location for the prom there. There you go. Oh, your prom was in the Playboy Tower. Oh, Grandma's Corner. Wow. So did you go up to the top where he used to film the TV show there? And even though I know he's a controversial figure, especially after Me Too and the exploitation of women, but now that women, on their own volition, if they choose to, can have their own fan site, as we all know, with the control it themselves. They don't have to have a pimp like Hugh Hefner publish their stuff. They can do it themselves. Yeah, it's controversial as a figure Hugh Hefner was for the women's lib and the go-go 60s and 70s and beyond into the 90s. He was a pioneer at integrating the Playboy Club, which at that time not everybody was doing. And he was an early, when the civil rights movement was going on, he did open up his clubs to everybody, which at that time, we remember the South Shore Country Club had to shut down because they wouldn't allow not only Jewish people, they wouldn't allow African Americans, and there were still places like Burkhoff's that we pass today that wouldn't allow women to drink at the bar. That was as late as the 1970s in Chicago. We don't realize even in the North, places were segregated. The old people always talk about Parkway Gardens, and there used to be the White City Amusement Park, which was based upon the World's Columbian Exposition, and it was famously known for excluding people in the North. The redlining we know about, and so that's why I'm just mentioning this stuff here. So let's check out the Halloween decorations here. I'll get off of this historical aside here, and we'll cross the street and we'll film. After Halloween, we'll do a redux of the Halloween decorations here. So hey, thanks for tuning in here. We'll rewind. We'll act like it's still October, since I keep saying October when it's November. Here's hey, it's Halloween decorations here. This is like a rerun. We're still filming the beautiful housing here. This is on State Street, Gold Coast, Chicago, and it's the housing combined with the Halloween decorations make it so nice here. Yeah. So what does that mean? What does that mean? I have no idea what that word you said. Whose boot am I licking? Are you licking Trump's boot? You want me to lick Trump's boot? Is that whose boot licking I'm licking? Am I licking your boot? Yeah, I'll say a boot like I have a Canadian accent. I love my Canadian friends and followers here. Here's no. I'm bootlicking Hugh Hefner. Yeah, I'm kissing Hugh Hefner's ass. You're correct. Let's go back to talking about Dave Mustaine. I think they took him down because the lights are off. They might still have some stuff on the buildings. Here, these people had some nice Halloween decorations. We filmed those. They still got the trees here. Here, we'll head up one last block here on State Street. We'll see, because they were so good. And of course, they paid a company. I saw when the company set it up, but they did a good job how they positioned the skeletons and lit up the house, and we all can benefit there. Yeah, Kira, thanks for checking it out there. Yeah. If it makes you feel better, you can call me a beta. You can call me a gamma. I don't want to be an alpha. You can be an alpha, because I think alphas are boring. But hey, you can call me a beta. Betas still have good times. Betas are pretty sociable animals there. You know, I bet your dog's a beta. You know. You think you're the head dog. That's why all domestic animals, you know, they think they're humans, you know, and they think we're just part of the pack there. So hey, I'm just a follower. That's why I reject this stuff like social anybody calls himself an influencer, I immediately like block them. I'm like, don't insult me by calling me an influencer. I'm a content creator. It's a big difference. I don't care. I'm not trying to change your mind. I'm stating my mind, but people always mistake to think I'm telling them how to think when I'm just telling them how I think. Here's the beautiful skeleton. Here's the Grateful Dead. I like these. They got them. It's like the Grateful Dead. They're doing the tango there. Look at that. Yeah, they're checking it out there. That's nice. Hey, they're playing cards there. Laying with the dog here. So they finally turned her off there. Yeah, they're doing they took out this skeleton. There was a skeleton there. So they're starting to take down the Halloween decorations here. So here we'll go past the Archbishop's residence. This is a wooden alley. We go by it all the time. Because I always walk the same way. He's on a lazy live streamer. I can think of nothing more beta to do than to try to, make yourself feel better by putting somebody down in the comments. I think nothing more beta than being a troll. It's like, you're anonymous. Talk to me in the street. Come up here face to face. Let's have a discussion. Face me like a peer. And, it's amazing what people will say when they think they have anonymity. And if we know who, look what I'm doing. People know who I am now. I'm not hiding. I'm not wearing a mask. Face your fears. Hey, yeah, I know. Well, I've been doing this. I appreciate the good advice there, SEKQK there, whatever. A nice name there. I for my own personal, so I feel like a real person, I have to engage with them from time to time because, most trolls are used to being ignored because that's how we're taught to deal with them with social media. So then they get off on just with impunity, and I like sometimes challenging them to either watch them not respond or try to respond, and then I like a fly in a glass, trapped in the in the light. I like to mess with them. I personally enjoy it, and so. I know it might seem scary if I fly off the handle and start yelling at people, but I do feel better after I do that because then I felt like I stood up for myself and didn't just ignore somebody because that, and then people are like, oh, you're giving attention. That's what they want. No, I think it's just a desperation. It's just like they're flailing there. And watch, they'll do it right now. They'll be like, look, this guy's stuttering. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Good, you feel better about yourself. Good, say whatever you need to do. Put other people down to make yourself feel better about yourself. And then you can run as a politician. And then you can, like, you know, cut some government program that somebody else needs and feel powerful. You know, hey, we'll see what happens in this election tonight. Let's see what happens in the New York mayor election. I'm excited. You know, I never would have dreamed that it would have been possible for a democratic socialist to become the mayor of the most capitalist city in the world, the home of Wall Street. More billionaires per capita live in the New York metro area. I guess LA is a close rival, but a lot of people are in Santa Barbara and other places like San Francisco, Silicon Valley, but everybody's spread out into like the Palo Alto, and like Steve Jobs, they live on a hill out there in the middle of nowhere. They'll go to La Honda and live like Ken Kesey. Ken Kesey was a true rich man. He was rich in psychedelics. He goes, I looked down into the bag and it's like someone left a bunch of jewelry down there, and I took it, and it made all the difference. Can you believe Ken Kesey? Think of how strange history is. So let me tell you this strange story. So let's walk through. This will be perfect because I don't want to walk near the street, and we'll be nice and quiet here. I'll lose everybody because usually I lose everybody in the park. Who here has heard of Ken Kesey? Who's Ken Kesey? You ever heard of the movie One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest with Jack Nicholson there, and the indigenous Native American actor? He was a Creek Native American, and you know that the book was about him. It was seen through his eyes. Ken Kesey wrote the book that the movie was based upon, and that's how he became famous and known. But before that, before Ken Kesey wrote the book, and it affected him writing the book, he gained his knowledge about how mental institutions work, because when he was a teenager, when he was in high school, Ken Kesey worked in a mental institution in California, and that's, you know, the one in the movies, like up by Portland or something. I think he grew up in Oregon. That's how he ended up back in Oregon on his farm after he left California, but that's a different story. And so when Ken Kesey was a teenager, he worked at a mental institution. He was part of the cleaning staff. He swept the floors and cleaned the place. And lo and behold, the CIA was conducting a top secret COINTELPRO program where first they, you know, the Albert Hoffman, the scientist that synthesized and discovered lysergic acid diethylthiamide. You can figure out the acronym there. He discovered it in the late 40s after World War II, and the chemists knew of it, and the CIA knew of it, and people knew it made you do weird things, and he accidentally ingested some himself and went on a bike ride. That was the first acid trip, and that was Albert Hoffman. By the time of the 1950s, the CIA was experimenting with substances that they could use in warfare, chemical warfare, like psychological warfare. They thought they could spray it on the troops and it would disorient them, because they would all be tripping and they wouldn't want to fight, or they would, be scared or something. And so they actually tested it on military. There's discovered top secret footage that was declassified where they gave a bunch. They said it was a bunch of privates, they actually experimented on U.S. soldiers, like what the Nazis would do. They said, everybody ingest this, and some of them got a placebo, and some of them got the strong stuff. And they were all trying to march. They were all going off in different directions. They all were freaking out because they didn't know what they were experiencing. Here, I'll walk through this tunnel here. We're going underneath the So you can just join me in Chicago here. We're walking through Lincoln Park here. It's dark. I'm telling this story about Ken Kesey, the writer of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And when he was a teenager, he worked in a mental institution in California, and the CIA just coincidentally was doing a top secret test of psychedelics on the military, and they also decide to use people in mental institutions. How freaky is that, to use people in mental institutions to test drugs on them? But they actually ask for volunteers, just like if you're in college, you know, if you donate plasma or be part of a scientific study, you can volunteer and get paid. Well, Ken Kesey saw this flyer on the wall at the mental institution they worked with. They said, hey, you can do this government testing, we'll pay you to do it. He goes, I need some money, let's do it. So the world was changed because he didn't get a placebo. He got the real lysergic acid diethylamide, am I saying that right, 25, and he started tripping balls, and he was in the mental institution. He was freaking out. He kept seeing people in various stages of whatever their affliction was, you know, and it was, he was cracking up. Like one guy looked like a frog, you know, and so he was hallucinating, and he loved it. He had a good trip. He really enjoyed it, so much so that he somehow got himself a hold of one. Like there was an extra vial laying around. No one was securing it because at that time it was still a legal substance. It wasn't a controlled substance, Schedule 1. And he got a hold of some and told his friends, and they started having parties with it. And that became, he lived, you know, and then subsequently he wrote these books, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and then he wrote Sometimes a Great Notion. And that's, you know, at that time, writers, you could become famous as a writer. Think of Jack Kerouac, On the Road. Think of Allen Ginsberg. These were writers, poets, and so was, you know, Bob Dylan. He took it the next level with the true troubadour bard poet. You know, his lyrics were combined with his music. It wasn't his voice. You know, he didn't, you know, but, you know, think of Burroughs, William Burroughs. He wrote Naked Lunch. These were writers, you know, and you think of Capote, Truman Capote. They wrote Breakfast at Tiffany's. These all became movies, but they first were books because people actually read back then, and writers could become famous at that time like rock stars. And Ken Kesey became a well-known, you know, think of Hunter S. Thompson. Why did Hunter S. Thompson get involved with that? He got involved with Ken Kesey, you know, and the Hells Angels, and Ken Kesey would invite the Hells Angels to these parties, you know. Anyway, by a strange accident, the CIA gave Ken Kesey, the writer of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, psychedelic drugs, and then he created the hippie movement pretty much on his own. It wasn't the original, it was just, they were on psychedelics driving a bus across the country in 1964 filming themselves. They didn't have a political agenda. They were like nihilists. They were just making fun of, when they drove through Arizona in the backwards bus, it wasn't because they were liberals, it was because they were making fun of how stupid the whole political system was. And they were making fun of the candidate from Arizona. What was his name? Liberty and I can't think of his name. Anyway, that's the story of Ken Kesey there. We've taught it before. It was a strange fluke of history. You know, it shows how, did the CIA create the hippie movement? Or at least the bad spinoff. It was a bad trip. Tennessee Williams, another one there. That's good. Yeah, thanks people for knowing these authors here. This is good. Alcatraz victims, yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of crazy stuff that went on. But I gotta tell you what, I'm getting tired, and I'm learning in my old age, when I get tired, it's probably good that I sign off, and I'm almost home anyway. I really appreciate everybody tuning in. Actually, I'll stay on another 10 minutes here, because I just noticed, often what happens is I'll want to turn off, and then I'll see something. We got a full moon. We're going over the South Pond here, and I'll show you this nice nature walk here. I probably won't talk as much. I'll start getting quiet here, but we'll try to get some nice views of the moon over the South Pond here in Lincoln Park, Chicago. We're just south of the Lincoln Park Zoo. The Genie Gang Pavilion's lit up there. They got this walkway lit up. So I'll show you what this looks like. We're gonna do in honor of this Gemini, we're gonna do a silent walk. And you'll hear my footsteps here. If anybody tunes in, let them know where we're at here. We're in Chicago, the South Pond in Lincoln Park. We're near Lake Michigan. It's 6:05 in the PM. We got about 60 degrees. It's getting down to like the upper 50s if it's starting to cool down. And there's that full moon. That's the full moon there. We did this before, where we filmed the moon over the, I'll zoom in and get the full moon over the Grant statue. It's a little too high in the sky. I think I got it lower in the sky at a different time. But here, we'll go on this walk and we'll just check out the South Pond. So thanks for tuning in there. Yeah, knowing's half the battle. Hey, there's some ducks on the water there. Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to scare everybody there. Hey, right here, here's some ducks. See, I scared the ducks here. See, they're yelling at me. They're like, you messed us up here. We were hiding. Look at all these ducks. There's ducks, there's geese. These are geese. So, hey, look at that nice view. We get to the John Hancock, 900 North Michigan. We walked right past that, a block over. Here we're by the South Pond, Chicago, Illinois. There's the full moon over the Grant statue here, South Pond of Chicago, Lincoln Park. We're just south of the Lincoln Park Zoo. It's 6:08 in the PM here, Tuesday night, Central Time. It's a big mirror in the sky. So since we're here, I'll take you up and show you the nice view at the bridge. We'll get these buildings lit up here. Hey, I missed a bunch of comments there. Hey Scott, thanks for checking it out here. Yeah, look at the moon there. There's the moon over the Genie Gang Pavilion there. South Pond here. Yeah, look at the skyline. Look at that. See, we walked across where that light is there. Hey, I gotta go up this way. So here's the farm and the zoo. That's what these barns are. And cows are in there. See, we're just walking through the country. We're not in Chicago. We're in Iowa. How you doing? We're in Indiana. I'm back home again in Indiana. I'll be like Jim Neighbors. I'll sing the song. Oh, what a night. Lady T, how you doing there? Margie R, Midwest, Bella. Yeah, perfect temps. Good temps for walking, good fall weather. Start a campfire. Get those chestnuts roasting on an open flame there. So hey, Lake Michigan's over that way. There's the full moon. So when you get caught between the moon and Chicago... Oh, I said it wrong. Look at that. Yeah, we'll get this beautiful skyline emerging over the... this is the South Pond here, Lincoln Park, Chicago. Hey, happy election night. We'll see what happens there in New York City. And, yeah. See, look, there's the moon over the lake. I bet the moon looks really nice over the lake today. And we might do that. Tomorrow night we might walk. If it's less windy, that might be interesting. Get that moon if it's clear. Look at that beautiful skyline there. It's Chicago, the John Hancock. 875 North Michigan. There's. I got to walk over this way to get to Sears Tower. You have to walk over. Yeah, best bushes there. Too early to call. Yeah, I know it's too early to call. There's the top of the Sears Tower. We walked around that building today. We went all the way around it. Look how the top, it's red and blue there, or red and purple. But hey, we get the whole skyline there. There it is. There you go. Look at that. So, hey, there we go. So we'll yeah, Alvin, I'm glad you saw that. Look at this nice skyline view here. Big bad city here. The evil city. God's gonna wipe us off the earth like Sodom and Gomorrah. Yeah, we're Sin City here. Where all the bad people are. Don't come here. We're bad. We deserve to be punished. No sanctuary, no quarter, no mercy. Yeah, good. Thanks for blocking it. Margie, you did the right thing. Thanks for blocking the nonsense. You know, it's just... people are going to do what people are going to do. What are we going to be, a nation of a bunch of people yelling at each other? We're going to find some way to coexist. We got to get along. We got to get over this, find some way to bridge the gap, lessen the divide. We must be friends, not enemies. How did they get beyond the Civil War? You know, it was a generous, you know, some people argue, and there's some truth to this, that especially the leadership of the Confederacy should have been punished worse than they did. They just pretty much let them go back to being regular citizens. They just, you know, had to give up what they thought was their property, which was the sin of the whole war. They never got that, you know, that was what the war was about. People aren't property. And people would write on their tombstones, "Gone with the wind." I've seen it because I researched, you know, the ancestry, and they would put their grievances on their tombstones about the war. You know, they lost their land. People had to move. I have ancestors that had to move from after the Civil War. They fought for the North in Tennessee. There was the 1st Cavalry, and they had to leave Tennessee because their neighbors would have killed them because they knew they fought for the North, and they had to move to a pro-Union area of Kentucky, the Hatfields and McCoys. Why did that food go on? The Hatfields were on one side of the war, the McCoys were on the other, and they were across state lines right at the border there. And so they could just run across the jurisdiction line. They wouldn't cross, the authorities wouldn't go into the other state. There wasn't the feds. That's why they had to bring in the feds for Chicago. They to get Elliot Ness had to get Al Capone. The local police were too either corrupt or powerless to stop him. And a lot of them were on the take because they didn't want to end up dead. You watched the movie, you know. It was a rough. This city's been violent for a long time. But here we'll head through Lincoln Park. I'll head home. I'm getting hungry here. The only thing I'm going to stick on for, I doubt it, because I don't see any other lights on. Eventually, hopefully soon they'll start turning on the lights for the zoo lights. They'll start testing them out, and then sometimes we can get glimpses of a preview of the Lincoln Park Zoo lights. And they already put the lights on the big tree, but I haven't seen it on. It doesn't mean it hasn't been on, it's just I haven't seen it. Yeah, she's trying to race me there. Yeah, we've a lot of joggers. That's, you know, okay, people often ask me, like even tonight, about the, you know, the dangers of walking in the city. You know, do you feel safe? To me, that's the best evidence that a woman alone at night feels safe enough to run in the park by herself. And sometimes I'll see them with headphones on. You know, headphones is actually because you can't hear people around you, you know. But here, you know, like this guy, he feels fine. You know, he feels fine jogging through here. And alone at night, sometimes early in the morning, you know. And North Troy Street, 4200 block. That's nice, Sally. Hey, thanks for tuning in here. Yeah, so many people tune in that used to live here, grew up here. They want me to check out their addresses. People have asked me to go to cemeteries to look up their grave sites. I'm serious, you know. We're all connected. If I, you know, I do go to Grayson Cemetery. If I'm there, I'll do it, but I'm not going to go out of my way. You know, if I'm not, I don't hang out at the cemetery all night, you know. Grim Evil, let's do that. We'll start a channel where we just hang out at cemeteries all night. If people watch that, we'll just dig holes in the middle of the woods there. We'll film that. Someone will watch. People watch people sleeping, you know. A man sleeps for 30 hours. There, that was an Andy Warhol movie. It really was. Yeah, we went through Cabrini Green this morning. I get no cred. We've gone to Parkway Gardens. If you don't know what that is, it's 63rd and MLK. Actually, 64th is the King Von mural. It's O Block. So what? You know, there's more dangerous areas of Chicago than that. That happened 15 years ago. That battle between the Gangster's Disciples and the whatever the other one was across the street. I should know this history better because it's important. I'm not making light of it. It was a real turf battle. And that's why it was known as, you know, somebody asked me at lunch, they brought up the RBG Duck or whatever his name was. It was 2020, it was 5 years ago. You know, we walk down Oak Street all the time. That was, you know, that happened there. People were shocked that right in the middle of Oak Street, middle of the day, drive-by happened, somebody was murdered right on Oak Street in front of Prada, you know. Jaime Weiss was murdered on the front steps of the Holy Name Cathedral. They still have services every Sunday. You know, some guy was killed right there. You know, that's the Archdiocese of the Catholic Church. Cardinal Supich gives mass there on TV every day. That's a major site on the Untouchable tours where they stop there and they say, Jaime Weiss was murdered on the steps. If you ever seen Godfather, the Godfather movie part 1, near the end of the movie, there's a guy trapped, or the guy comes out of the church, he shoots him on the, that's what that's based off. Francis Ford Coppola used that in the movie. And that's why people knew, people were still alive that remembered the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. They remembered when Jaime Weiss was murdered and Dean O'Banion and Schofield's flower shop was there. It's all tore down. You know, the Genna brothers were murdered right over here on Ogden. And the St. Valentine's Massacre was right over there. Bugs Moran lived in a hotel right there. There's so much Prohibition history right here in Lincoln Park. John Dillinger was killed at the Biograph Theater. We go by this stuff. All the Untouchable tours are driving around Lincoln Park, going around all these sites, because the north side used to be a lot more dangerous in the 1920s. Look at that. Oh, they're towing the car. Hey, thanks for tuning in here. So, yeah, they don't have the tree on. I'm going to sign off here. So everybody have a good night here. We'll be back on tomorrow morning. We'll talk more about this stuff. Thanks for tuning in on YouTube. Check out the reruns on TikTok. There's a bridge lift probably tomorrow at lunchtime. If you want to see the bridge lift live, 12 to 1. I might go on a little early, like 11:30, because they start earlier. But we'll give it a try. And if you miss it, you'll be reruns. There's reruns for last week. You can watch reruns from 2 years ago. Here's Lincoln Park Zoo. We're signing off. Thanks, mods. You guys are great. Have a good night here. And we'll see what, we'll talk about the elections tomorrow. I'll have to brush up and have all the facts there. So have a good night. We'll see you all later there. May, thanks for tuning in there. Grim Evil, Sue B, D-Line Tea Time. Yeah. Sally A, Matthew, Wes, Karen, thanks everybody. Lady T, yeah, Margie R, Scott, CK, Doreen, BGR, Julie Smith, thanks everybody. We'll see y'all later there. Sabrina's Suburban Garden, you've been on the whole time. Thank you so much. Sabrina's Suburban Garden, Doreen, Tim, Angie Love, Karen, we'll see you later there. Mikey, Mike, go Lions. Okay, Kevin will like you. Okay, we'll talk to you later. That's the last one. See you later.